Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about proposed Formula One races that never happened. Throughout the history of Formula One, many races have been proposed to be added to the calendar, but quite a few have failed to make it, and I'll be looking at 10 of these failed proposals in this video. Just how far some of these went varies. Some of them seem to be just pure speculation or interest from the location to hold a race, while others went as far as being on a season's provisional calendar and ended up being cancelled. Before getting into the proposals though, if you enjoy the video, please give it a like and share the video, and for more similar content then you can subscribe to the channel. What a better way to start off this list than a race proposed to take place in New York City. As I'm sure many of you know, Formula One has tried to get a race in New York City many times over the years. The one I'll be going over here was a proposed race in Flushing Meadows in the borough of Queens in the 1980s. The proposal went as far as being on the calendar for the 1983, 1984, and 1985 seasons, but obviously never happened in any of those years. The proposed track was around Meadow Lake and would have been about 2.5 miles or just over 4 kilometers long. However, the local residents never got behind the idea of having a race, along with other concerns such as safety, meaning the race never happened. As you can see from the proposed layout, the track is a bit reminiscent of Oulton Park. Rumors did come out again in 2004 about using a different layout in Flushing Meadows, but those appear to not have gone far. The next one I have is a proposed circuit through the streets of Beirut, Lebanon, along the coast of the Mediterranean, which came in the late 90s. While plans started to take shape in 1997, the country set a target date of 2003 to be ready for a race. While the race never made it on a provisional calendar, it was a serious proposal as Charlie Whiting visited what would have been the site of the track in order to inspect it. Upon inspection, Whiting said, "There's far from a green light at the stage, but I see nothing that would stop this project from going through." Politics got in the way of this proposal going much further, though. New members of the Lebanon government did not view Formula One as a necessity for the city and put their focuses elsewhere, ending the proposal. In late 2004, a 5-year deal was signed to build a Formula One track in Cancun, Mexico to host a race from 2006 to 2010. The track was to be designed by Herman Tilke and would feature both an oval and a road course. Formula One would obviously race on the road course, while the circuit was planning to also have an IndyCar race on the oval. Reports on the future of the race went quiet quickly though. The organizers were not able to secure the land they wanted to build the track on, and the track was never built. Had this gone through though, it would have been one of the more strange looking circuits on the calendar, and certainly the most symmetrical. Next we have a proposed race in Hungary. After it became clear to Bernie Ecclestone that a race in Moscow would not happen in the mid-80s, he decided to focus on Budapest for the site of the first race behind the Iron Curtain. One of the first focuses on a location for the Hungarian Grand Prix would be Oulton Park, which hosted a Grand Prix all the way back in 1936. The proposed race in the park was originally on the 1984 and 1985 provisional calendars, but was quickly taken off each year. The country decided instead, though, that they wanted to build a new track on the outskirts of the city closer to a highway. The track they built was the Hungaroring, which still hosts the race today. This next one I have is a bit more recent than the previous ones, but one that looks like it did not get too far advanced as I can find very little information about it. The first rumor of a Formula One race in Bulgaria came in 2004, but the more significant one surfaced in 2009. Reports stated that a race would happen in either 2011 or 2012, and most likely replace the race in Turkey, which was suffering from a lack of attendance. The organizers had proposed 2 circuits ready and were waiting to hear which one they should go with. The track would likely have been located near the city of Pleven, and a preliminary deal was agreed on, and the country was also interested in bringing MotoGP to the track as well. However, I couldn't find any reports after the preliminary agreement, so the proposal must not have been much further, and I couldn't even find a proposed layout either. Back at the turn of the century, Formula One wanted to expand into the Middle East, and on top of the earlier proposal in Beirut, there is also one to have a race in Egypt. Like the previous proposal in Bulgaria, it looks like this one never really got too far, but there is definitely interest. Ecclestone reportedly visited Egypt, and the country had already determined a desired location to build a track. The plan was to have the track within view of the pyramids, which certainly would have given it a very unique backdrop, and the organizers were hoping the backdrop would set the proposal apart from the others in the Middle East. The plan was to start hosting a race in 2004, but the contract was awarded to Bahrain instead. Personally, I'm not one that really gets caught up in the location or scenery of a track, but a race with pyramids in the background might be the one thing that I would think is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a proposed layout for this one either. So, this next one I have is a city that's hosted Formula One in the past and also is a deal for the future, and that city is Las Vegas. On top of the past and future races, there have been plenty of other proposals to host a race in Vegas in between. The one I'll be focusing on here happened in the late 90s. Rumors first started to appear in late 1996 about interest for a race on a street circuit that would include the Las Vegas Strip. Many of the resorts objected, so the proposal instead was made for a track in the parking lot of the Las Vegas Convention Center. The promoters of the race went as far as attending the Monaco Grand Prix to learn more about what it took to hold an F1 race. However, funding along with availability of the convention center held the proposal back. Focus then shifted to building a facility on land south of the Las Vegas Strip. This proposal didn't get much further either. The recently opened Las Vegas Motor Speedway objected to the plans, feeling that it would take away from their facility. There are even rumors of Formula One racing at the road course inside the Speedway's oval. Interestingly, the promoters at Ecclestone had told them that no Formula One race would be held on a venue that is an oval track as part of its facility. However, not much later, a contract was signed to race on a newly built road course at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, while rumors of a race in Las Vegas at the time died out, and the land the circuit was proposed on became a golf course. The proposed permanent circuit was quite twisty, so had this actually happened, overtaking surely would have been difficult. Next, we have one on a track that actually exists, and one you may be familiar with, and that is Oulton Park in England. The circuit hosted the non-championship Gold Cup races for many years from the 1950s to early 70s, but since it never hosted a World Championship race, we can include it here. Since it did host non-championship races, though, it may not be the biggest surprise it was considered for a World Championship race, but the surprise may be the Grand Prix it may have hosted. It wouldn't have been the British Grand Prix, but instead the Belgian Grand Prix. Back in 1971, Spa was dropped from the calendar due to safety concerns, and the country needed a new circuit to host the race in the future. The Novella circuit was being built to do so, but there were concerns with the project, and there were also concerns that Zolder was not suitable to host the Grand Prix. Back at the time, though, if a country went 2 years without being on the calendar, in order to join again, it would first have to host a non-championship race. Seeing as Belgium might not have any other options, Oulton Park offered the Belgian authorities the opportunity to host the Belgian Grand Prix there instead, so that they wouldn't have to reapply in the future. As things happened, though, Novellis did get built and hosted the Belgian Grand Prix in 1972 and 1974, while Zolder hosted their first Belgian Grand Prix in 1973, and then most of the races for the next decade plus before the race was returned to the newly renovated Spa. Also, on top of missing out on a Belgian Grand Prix in England, we also missed out on a Swiss Grand Prix at Hockenheim around the same time. This next one was probably the furthest away from happening of the 10 on this list, and that's an Iranian Grand Prix, but twice in the last decade or so, rumors about the country building a track have come up. The first reports came in September 2011, stating that a track was going to be built south of the capital of Tehran, but a few days later, Ecclestone came out and said we have 3 or 4 countries already waiting for a race. I don't think Iran is on top of our list. Reports followed shortly that Iran would indeed build a track called the Island Race Resort, but it would not be one suitable for Formula One and would instead be a Grade 2 circuit. The next reports came out in May 2015 saying the country is going to build a track on Keshem Island in the southern part of the country, and they said it would be the world's most beautiful Formula One destination. I can't find any further reports that follow, though, so it looks like this proposal ended there, and I can't find a proposed layout either. For the final one I have here, it's another circuit that made it on a provisional Formula One calendar before being dropped off. After last hosting a Grand Prix at Jarama in 1981, Spain was looking for a new venue and settled on the streets of Fuengirola in the coast of southern Spain. A track was designed through the streets, and Tiffany Dell tested a Formula Renault car, but stated that a lot of work needed to be done. However, it was still included in the early portion of the 1984 season on April 29th, but was then delayed towards the end of the year on September 23rd, and then as the season finale on October 21st, before finally being replaced by the Portuguese Grand Prix. The circuit then made a return to the provisional calendar in 1985 on October 13th, before being dropped off again. The country then focused on building a track in Jerez instead, and reports of a Grand Prix in Fuengirola quickly died off. Based on the location, it sounds like they were hoping to get the type of scenic Grand Prix the country saw in Valencia from 2008 to 2012. So there you have it. There's 10 Grand Prix that never happened. Hopefully you enjoyed going through these proposals, and if you have any further information about any of them, then let me know in the comments, as I'd certainly be interested in learning more about them. Also, let me know which, if any of these, you would have liked to have actually seen hosted a race, and also if you'd like to see a part 2. Thanks for watching.